I'll switch off my fan, sorry.
Oh shit! Can you hear my fan?
Wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Hadn't noticed either of them, to be fair.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'll put it back on it a bit.
You know it's hot when you gotta be outside of the fan, right?
Oh, wow. I'm jealous. I'm really jealous.
Oh, it's not always cracked up to be, trust me. No.
this
yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So what's going on, man? What's the dilly?
Yeah, well, one thing as well is just to keep in mind, it's a family show. So
okay.
No, you can do what you're doing, but don't necessarily announce what you're doing.
No. I'm just having a cigarette.
Yeah. Well, we don't even say that we're having cigarettes.
Everything's legal and above board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Rob! Look at Rob!
Peace, people.
Peace,
thank
bro.
you to this Afroflux hip-hop comic little panel. We're doing it as an impromptu talk, so don't feel that you're on a panel as such, even though I've used the phrase panel. But what we're doing is just a relaxed talk about our influences, our inspirations as part of the hip-hop generation, and how that has led us to, led you guys to the creativity of which you are currently involved, what you've been involved with, and also what you're doing in the future. So first off, we're just going to get introductions for all of us, and we're just going to introduce ourselves. Most of you know me, Juice Salim. I'm
Juice Salim.
Heading up the heading up of Afroflux, and there's a whole bunch of different things that I do, which I'm sure is the same with you guys. But one of the things that I am really pushing for in recent years is within Afroflux, we've have a thing called the Fluxcon, where we have various different creative people, various different creators come through, able to sell their wares, show their artwork, anything from crafts to illustrations, design, t-shirts. But the thing we push for is comics and cosplay, and that connectivity between hip hop and ourselves. So Sandra, you want to introduce yourself?
No.
Hi everybody, I'm Sandra Carter.
Hey, Sandra.
Yeah, I call myself a creative entrepreneur because I do various different forms of art, from music to writing to creating projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want me to talk about what I'm doing right now, Juice, if that's the case. Very briefly.
Yeah.
Very briefly. I'm embarking on a project based around a fantasy series of books which I've written, in the development of bringing awareness to young people, especially young Black males, especially young people that are coping with dyslexia. I'm a dyslexic person myself, and I'm using creative art forms, comic forms, different styles of creative arts to express and create a change in their life. That's a round enough aspect of myself. Brilliant. I love art, drawing, illustration, music, bit of everything, and hip hop. Yeah, I was a previous MC as well. I might embark back on that, but I don't know. Let's see where the wind blows.
Word.
Rob?
Rob Woods. I consider myself an artist, in the same way you said, Sandra. Because I deal in different, I paint or collage, and I like to keep my mind open to all types of art forms. I write too, and make music, but mainly what I do is cartooning.
Okay. Cool.
I'm a comic artist, comic artist. I make mini comics. I did a comic called Depressed Punks. Was an underground series in Philadelphia in the U.S. And it's collected into a graphic novel called 36 Lessons of Self-Destruction. And then I just self-published 36 Lessons in Self-Destruction, the Depressed Punks collection. And I just published another collection of my mini comics on Amazon called Build Destroy. And yeah, and at the moment I do yeah, and it's like dark humor, satirical type comics. And that's about it. That's pretty much what I do.
Okay.
Oh.
And Aplus Comics is what? Is who?
It's Aplus Comics is my Instagram name. I don't know. It's not anything. It's just I come up with comic names all the time, and Aplus Comics, the blackest comics on earth. I just want to say this real quick. I actually created Aplus Comics to be an actual comic company for other for a lot of comic artists.
Right.
But I never really end up doing that. I just use the name. So I don't know. It means whatever you want it to mean. But like that's just that's just another name of mine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's my Instagram, and that's where that's my main site where I show a lot of my art, comic art. Yeah, Aplus Comics on Instagram.
And then Mr. Lee.
Hey, all right. So, originally, like Sandra, I guess I was a creative. I did hip hop, as you know, Juice as well. I was, I was a hip hop artist or whatever. I've always liked drawing. The medium of comics is really new to me. Creating comics as a creator. They've always been around, but as a creative, being creative, trying to create a comic or whatever, the sequential art is kind of new to me. But I'm more along the lines of I am more into like comic journalism, like your Joe Sacco, your Art Spiegelman. I'm into like, it's fair well if you want to do superheroes or whatever, or manga, it's down to you. My thing is just stories, honest, like biographical, autobiographical, like comic books basically. Yeah. I'm in the middle of doing a graphic. We'll try to do a graphic memoir.
Yeah, I've been watching the growth and the development of the skill set and seeing panels every now and then. And like a lot of true hip hop heads that get into comics, they see the sort of biographical or autobiographical style of comics. And Mouse with Spiegelman and all those kind of people, and there's some amazing comics out there. But it's interesting. Do you guys, or maybe you, Lee, see it as adult comics? Because I got in through 2000 AD, superheroes, ninjas, superpowers, radioactive materials, and then somewhere along the line you get in touch with adult comics, basically, Love and Rockets and things like that were eye-openers to me. People that weren't necessarily flying around. They were dealing with relationships and weddings and marriage and death. Yeah. Do you guys see that as adult comics, and has that inspired any of your works? Obviously you, Lee, but to Rob and Sandra. Is everyone still there?
Yeah. I answer. Yeah, that's been a big inspiration on me. When I was my first introduction to comics was through through my father, who is an artist himself, and a comic artist himself, and he you know, he's done illustrations and stuff. But some of the first comics I've read were adult comics. You know, as a kid. You know, my dad introduced me to Watchmen. I remember when that came out as a graphic novel, as a collected graphic novel. Watchmen, Killing Joke. You know, Frank Miller, Alan Moore, and all that. Also, a heavy metal magazine. Which I guess I really shouldn't see as a kid, but I mean, my dad would show me anything he looked at, and those are some of the first comics I seen. So when it came to and they really just blew my mind. And besides that, you know, I liked some Jack Kirby, what do you call it, Fantastic Four and stuff like that. But yeah, but adult comics are some of the first comics I've seen. You know, Mad Magazine and stuff like that, and yeah, I would consider my comics adult comics. That's what I'm. Yeah, I'm very influenced by it.
It's interesting though as well. Some of the ones you say you saw first were still within the superhero genre, like Watchmen. You mentioned Watchmen and like Frank Miller, but they were
martial law.
They were subverting the superhero tropes and going off in different directions. You know,
I just want to say, I mean, I love superhero comics too. Like I liked superhero comics when I was a kid. I really loved a lot of them. You know what I mean? I'm very influenced by them too. So, but yeah.
And Sandra, what was your first comic
introduction?
Introduction, yeah.
Well, it was from my brothers, rubbing them whenever they put them underneath their bed. I used to rub their comics and start reading them. My introduction, I'd say it was more or less, it would be Marvel. I fell in love with Storm because she was the only black person I saw when I was little. And also I love DC. No, it's not even DC. It is Ross. And also Jennifer, She-Hulk. So those are the two influences for me in regards to characters. Adult comics, I just got whatever my brothers had. So I just was influenced by different styles of the comics that were out. Even going back from the old comics when we were kids, it was just something that was gave me a place of escapism. So for myself, I moved from the adult to young. It just didn't matter for me as long as it was, you know, an escapism for me.
Right.
Yeah. What were you? Anyone here? This can be anyone. Well, it'd be good to hear from all of you. What was the first time you realized you were not alone as a nerd, as a person into these things? For me, hip hop was one of those things, like you'd see certain bits of graffiti that was obviously from a comic panel, and hearing Public Enemy when Chuck D said things like meet Namor, see Lord Prince of the Deep, I could swing a hammer like the mighty Thor, you know, and there was these kind of lines like, what was it for you guys?
Gosh, that's a good question. I would say it was just the fusion of what came back to me now is like the originals where with oh gosh, his name's gone out of my head. From the old school hip hop, basically seeing the graffiti on the wall, linking it in that context. So that was the starting point for me. I didn't really have a complete specific area. So it was more like seeing the movement of the art form as itself that interlinks me with other people, like you said, fellow people that were passionate about the same vibe, the same music, the same movement.
Yeah. Is the same for you guys?
You mean as far as when did you realize that?
Like when it wasn't just you on your own that was quote unquote weird, like
okay.
Like when you saw that even like a hip hop link with it, you know?
I saw the link with what's the name of that group that did Jamoni? Jamo,
Nucleus.
Nucleus,
I remember seeing their cover. The cover was all like comic book. I remember seeing the Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force cover with all them like renegades breaking through the wall.
Yeah, that was big actually.
And then like because it's like pop culture in general. There's a point where you can get that synthesis going on between the cartoon, the action figure. It's being mentioned, it's being referenced by MF Doom, and so that's when I realized I was on a mall. I mean, it was a while. I mean, since the '80s, with Kwame mentioning Mighty Thor and the rhythm, and it's stuff like that. When you saw people cross reference these, you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm not alone. There's others.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Yeah, no, that's I was just thinking about Kwame then, and even people like that. That was, as much as you weren't alone, it was still, I still felt comfortable because it was still a niche. If I say 50 Cent or Eminem or who else is big right now in rap, Travis Scott or something like that, loads of people will go, oh yeah, I know who they are. I know some of their songs, Drake. But when you say Kwame, it was though it had a pop mainstream feel to it and it became part of popular culture, it still had a niche. It was still, not everyone's got a Kwame album, and that still felt like comfortable to me, I wasn't fully exposed. Even though there was others like me, I wasn't fully exposed. Do you think that as you've become a creator in your own way, in your own field, do you ever feel exposed, and what keeps you comfortable? So you're not too exposed to, so you still feel good with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, exposing, for me, writing a fantasy book, it was exposing myself to a world that I've never been before. So I'm taking it from that perspective. And just to flip it back to come back, my whole story came from me freestyling when I was MCing. Right. So it just elevated, like, this is an incredible idea. I wouldn't say I'd say exposed. I think I'm quite comfortable with who I am and what I am conveying in my creativity. Who likes it, who don't. So I'm just comfortable in that space, and it's more comfortable to see that more people are owning those spaces as well.
True. But I'm saying this like, I feel like that now and have done for the last 10, 15 years, but I didn't always. Okay,
well, I can say that, in all honesty, I could say that I did in the sense that growing up with brothers, my brother introduced me to hip hop. My brothers introduced me to comics, so I was always exposed by it. All my girlfriends were into hip hop. We ended up MCing, so it was very comfortable. I mean, it was classed as geek or whatever genre you are, or nerd. But it was something exciting. It was almost like you're in a club. You're part of the creative crew. So I didn't feel it like it was something negative, like you'd feel vulnerable or uncomfortable in that space. It was just like a space of freedom, to be quite honest, more than feeling exposed. It was a freedom to express yourself. Yeah. That's my perspective.
That's good. I remember almost having fights with people because, you're still reading these comics, you're still doing that, like I was comfortable enough in myself to do it and admit to it, but it was definitely not, you know how it is now where everyone's into comics.
Everything.
Everyone's, Marvel, Iron Man, I remember like when you said Iron Man as a kid, Tony Stark, he's an alcoholic, he's this, he's that. Most people didn't know what the hell you're on about, what. Yeah. And that in itself was a bit of an exposing, Yeah. Did you not feel that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, oh God.
No, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, man. Like with like when I like just coming up, you know, as a kid, and like I guess at a certain age, like you know, there were a lot of kids into comics. I remember like when like Todd McFarlane and like Spawn and all that was like the thing. And I was actually I guess maybe it was just the school I was in. I was actually surrounded by a lot of geeks, you know, and I would consider myself one too, but probably a little in a little different way. But
Yeah.
but they were into that, you know, Spawn and Tomb Raider, and you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I like the Tomb Raider game, I wasn't as geeked out about it as they were. I wasn't into it. I actually thought a lot of those comics were. I didn't see the big deal of it. You know, I'm a geek in a different way. I like a lot of old stuff. You know, I love the old, like I love comics from the golden age. I love EC comics. So I was a bit geeky in that, because then like a lot of the kids like the popular stuff. I mean, a lot of kids liked comics. It wasn't really, at least where I lived at, it wasn't really a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But they liked a lot of the popular stuff that I thought was kind of crappy, to be honest. Now I look back on it and I think it's okay. I like the Todd McFarlane and the Rob Liefeld and that stuff. I look back on it and I like it. But I remember when I first seen, like, I remember like Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. And it's just like webs all over the place, and he's drawn in this weird, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? You know, I didn't like it. I thought it was tacky. I wasn't really into it. I like straightforward storytelling. I like straightforward storytelling. I like I'm saying I can appreciate it now.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, like I just like I guess because some of the stuff I was kind of introduced to when I was younger, like, you know, Walt Kelly, Pogo, and stuff like that. And I used to like the Sundays comics. And
do you like?
But I like the old stuff though. I always like the old stuff. You know, I like really old stuff. Like, just, you know, I love, you know, black and white films and stuff like that. So I was weird in that way.
Was you into the?
And sometimes I could talk about certain things. They didn't know what I was talking about. And they just like, you know, what are you into? So you know, I like stuff. I like old jazz music. You know. I don't know. I was always into things before my time. And you know, but eventually I found people that was into that type stuff, and I connected with those, which were very small groups of people, you know. And you know, but I find comfort in creating. I just want to say this real quick, like as far as I mean, I deal with a lot of like, as far as like just anxiety and what's the word? A lot of those things I explore in comics, you know, and I've found a way to express myself through, you know, through comics, through art, you know, where I could kind of escape into fantasy and kind of be something else.
Yeah.
You know, and I yeah, you know, a lot of self-doubt, anxieties, and insecurities, you know, I may deal with in real life, whereas though in comics, you know, I'm in my own world. That stuff doesn't exist, and I like the idea to be able to escape through it. Yeah, you know, through art and stuff like that, and through reading, you know, comics and stories and stuff like that. But I don't know. That answer kind of veered off to something else, but
no, it's still it's all part of it, man. It's all part of it, and I mean, escapism is obviously not only a big thing throughout comics and any kind of entertainment media, but books in particular, anything book related, and then comics being comic books as well. You do go off into a whole other world. And also, myself, maybe where I lived in the outskirts of the city at one point in time, in my formative years, and also the certain racial elements, being like one of the few black families as well, that added to certain things. So I'm into gaming. I'm into like, you know, fighting fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons as well, and as well as comics. And so those were still, comics were either seen as very old or too futuristic. They weren't seen as now, you know, they weren't seen as for now. There was either your dad collected comics back in the day and you had those old EC comics, like the original ones, you know, or you were into something that was coming out, like when they started to re-release or put the Western release of manga stuff, like when Akira first started getting, you know, when they did the Western.
That's another thing. I mean, you're talking about Akira, like, I mean, that's another aspect as far as like the graffiti element of it. Now, as you, like, as being younger, my older brother and his friends, you know, they were really into the hip hop world of graffiti and stuff. And that's the type of stuff they read. They read comic, and they were that was kind of a subculture, whatever. I know, like, you know, graffiti and all that's big now, but they were weird. They were like their own type of thing. They were straight off of Wild Styles or something. And they were just, and I would go with them sometimes and watch them do graffiti art. They make up their own way of dressing, and they was into that and living that out, and just, and, you know. I mean, that was geek on another kind of thing, you know, and like, yeah, man, like, I don't know, man, like that, I don't know, that's a connection to like the hip hop and or like people doing the graffiti art and they make, they do the I don't know if y'all know, Baudet.
Baudet, big, like, that's what
drawing that, or drawing a black Simpson, Bart Simpson, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just in their own little world, like, I don't know. I keep throwing this off to something else.
It's good.
Oh, it's good, man. It's good. And Baudet is very big within hip hop. This underground independent comic creator is super big. You know, if you look back at early graffiti, there's nearly always a Cheech Wizard character or the Lizard.
The Lizard.
You know, I mean, they're there very often. Like almost to the point where it became cliche. Almost, it went from this really super niche underground thing to, oh, there's the Lizard again, like, but when your brother,
everybody was doing
and it's hip hop that made that come from indie hippie kind of weirdo, you know, the real life Robert Crumbs, you know. Those were the kind of people that were reading those comics at one point. And then it became
Stoner comics.
Say again?
Stoner comics.
Yeah, like Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers and a lot of the Crumb stuff. But it became hip hop. Once you see it thrown up on a wall, instead of a panel that is like 1.5 inches big, and you see it thrown up in a wall 15 foot high, then of course it's free advertising, you know. Through the hip hop generation, you know, and then you become into like, who's that character? That character looks kind of cool up on the wall, like, it's from
and that's another thing. Like, it's done in a very hip hop way because like you're using this. It's just like with the DJs and stuff, you know. It's just like with the DJs. Bambaataa or Flash or whatever, and they're finding these obscure records that nobody knows about, and they know you don't know about it, and they let you hear the music, and you just like, where is he getting these sounds from? But it's the same thing, you know, with the graffiti artists at that time. Like, they're grabbing stuff from comics, and most people were not really reading comics and stuff. And plus underground comics, and they're using these characters, put them up on the wall with their words, like. You know, that's just something else, man. And that's just the you know, the art of making something from nothing, and just utilizing that and just put.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
I just, you know, like, that's just a beautiful thing, man. But that's very hip hop. You know, and taking obscurity and making something out of it, and making and using your own voice in that. The voice of the ghetto, the voice of Black people, or whatever. You know. And just using that and putting, you know, man.
What was the original question? Sorry.
So yeah, I keep taking this one.
That went a long time ago.
Okay. Hey.
Well, I was just kind of yeah, it's gone.
Okay. Forget it.
Yeah, but bring what you bringing, Dolly.
I have to know what was said, but like basically, yeah. What was it said? Because I just don't want to waffle off and shit. What was it? No, sorry. Pardon me. Yeah. Okay, now, all right. I have nothing to say. Y'all said it. Both of y'all said it out. Like, yeah. Next question, I guess.
Well, okay, cool. Is there? I mean, I've just brought out a selection of. I was looking, this. I mean, I don't know if you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God! Don't let me have to go and draw for mine.
Ron
Don't let me have to go and draw for my one.
I mean, you draw
For my one.
snappity snap.
Sniggity snap.
See, so is there any like something like this? This is like such a connective sentences. MF Grimm,
Yeah.
who once upon a time used to ride with MF Doom for those in the
MF Doom, Coogee Rap, Lady of Rage, King Sun, illustrated by Ronald Wimberly, another a brother. Funny enough, it's books like this that got me into comic book journalism, where it was like, at first it was like, yeah, Swamp Thing, because he's so, far out and mystical and stuff like that. And then, it gets to a certain age where there's only a certain amount of times you could see Spider-Man stop a plutonium bomb from blowing up in New York. You know what I mean? And then it went from that to, my friend Kobe had a comic book, and I can't remember the name of the lady that wrote it, but it was illustrated. It was a French comic book, and it was like a slice of life comic book about her life growing up in Ivory Coast. There's a book called Aya of Yop City. And at first, when I first saw it, I was just like, this, the artwork was peculiar because it wasn't the standard like Marvel, like the chisel face, cop dude in tights and shit. And then it was just dealing with normal, everyday slice of life stuff. And I was surprised that I actually got so deeply like involved. I was really involved, invested in the characters and the story. The fact this is a true story, and it was a black person from another person from another, or a black person from Africa talking about their experience. It wasn't, no one got killed in it. There was no murder mystery. There was nothing like that. No one had magic powers, and that opened me up to slice of life comics. Graphic memoirs, graphic novels, graphic medicine. And when Percy Carey put out Sentences, that was another one. This was that was me. This is before I actually got back into expressing myself through using comic sequential art as a language. These are the ambers that started the fire, which is now me trying to become a sequential art griot and tell my story in my voice, with my own visual language. The fact that they weren't drawn exactly like how the Marvel people, they weren't super. It's not that the work wasn't polished, but it was like, some of the stuff was not anatomically correct, and the characters had larger eyes and but the fact that it was a blend of interesting art techniques outside of just, Kirby and the other people's style. It was a blend of like these unique voices as far as visual voices, and yeah, that was just basically it. I mean, it was just something personal about it. I mean, Eye of Yop City was in color. In general, a lot of the adult comics are black and white.
Yeah, the comics tend to price as well a lot of the time, as well as style. It's price as well. What's it called? The Eye of Diop.
Aya of Yop City.
Aya of Diop.
And it's Aya of Yapogong. And it's basically it's like this girl from Ivory Coast, and my ex-girlfriend at the time, she was Ivorian, so I bought the whole series. And I read them before. I was like, nah, you can't read them yet. Let me read them. I went to them and then I gave them to her as a gift, kind of thing.
So then that's very much inspired your work. And as you're talking and you're explaining the lack of mystical powers, superpowers, capes, cows, magic rings.
Yeah.
It's how you used to MC. That's how you MC. You were very like, I am in the room with you. I'm talking about you. I watched your shoe and you tied it up too tight. You would very much be like narrative, internal monologue kind of, but real life, but almost
real life,
added a surrealism to it because it was so real.
Yeah.
As opposed to the usual sort of MC, like, look at me.
Yeah. I'm rough like sandpaper. Yeah. I was that.
It's funny, Juice, you just saying that, it just made me connect to something, because a lot of the stuff I used to MC about was about spiritualism, about finding self, elevating self. And the book that I'm writing, it is high on that spiritualism, finding self, rites of passage, those sort of things within, the genre of fantasy sci-fi. So, thank you for that connection, actually. So cool.
Yeah. I think what I'm thinking of at the moment and listening to you guys is it's something about maturity, not being older, not being aged, not being a certain chronological year, but being mature. If you would have asked me when I was 12, when I was 15, what comics, it's all going to be big guns and ninjas and powers and dimensional travel. But as you ask me now, I'm still into all that stuff. Do not get me wrong. I love a good time travel thing, but it's those kind of books. It's those kind of sentences. It's those kind of internal, slow moving things, and as Rob was talking about older films, I grew up, like I'm sure all of us really, watching, there wasn't as many channels and stuff, watching a lot of films that were actually from like the 20s, 30s, 40s. And I became a fan of a lot of these Bogart. I used to love, what's his name? Not Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd. I used to love Harold Lloyd. Even superhero stuff was, the old stuff was like the what's the guy with Kato?
Oh, Green Hornet.
Green Hornet.
See what I said there? I said the guy with Kato.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Kato was the star.
Yeah, exactly. Bruce. Yeah.
So I grew up watching all of those, and when I show, I didn't do that intentionally. It's just like, but when I try and show my children some of these older films, they're just like, oh, Dad, like, this is so, like, oh, is anything going to happen?
This is so camp.
Yeah,
And I'm like, something is happening, but it's very subtle. It's very subtle. Like, it's not films, and, the intensity's building, but you got to watch, you got to pay attention. You can't look at your phone. And they were actually stories, Juice. What you're saying is, back in the day, they wrote beautiful stories that you had to walk along the journey of the actual film. And a lot of the things now, it's, it's cut sharp, action, power, somebody fell, somebody died, somebody kissed.
Explosion.
So it's a build-up of it. And you see that in a lot of the, sci-fi fantasy sort of stuff, that it's the same sort of storyline within a story. Back then, I used to love musicals. I used to teach dance. I used to love musicals. something that was a storyline. It was a long storyline that got to the crescendo of a film. So, you know, it's a big shift from how it was to how it is now.
And the only way that, like nowadays as well, to make a story even better, they add more action. Like you bring, if it's sort of faltering, you bring The Rock into the film. You know,
right.
And then to add, and then if it's faltering again, you bring Jason Statham in as well, and then you add more spices. You know, it's like, but as I say,
sensationalism.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, but as we're maturing, it's like you begin to notice these subtleties, and even to take it back to not just hip hop as a movement, but the MCing side of it. This rise of the kind of more introspective artist that's always been there. There's always, you know, it's been there for a long time. But I know you, Lee, you're into like Billy Woods and people like that, and you know the Arm and Hammer stuff. You've got Car, you know, KA. You know, you've got all these people just talking about life, like in grim, real stuff. It's like it's almost like a noir film type. So stylized, but it's so. It's super mature, basically. It's not tear the club up kind of music. And I feel like everyone here is presenting that on the page.
Yeah.
No, how do you see that, Rob?
Everything has its place. You know, I'm kind of cool with the sensationalized stuff. You know, I'm sometimes I like a little cheap thrill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it has its place. Everything has its place, and but it's good to have that contrast too. To have stuff like that, you know, so you can appreciate work like we do, or like Sandra does, or Lee does, or you know, and like you know, it's good to have that. I like it. Because it, you know, I like, you know, that my stuff can be in a way kind of obscure or something like that, and like, you know, or deep or whatever. I don't know how people look at this. I don't know if my stuff is deep or what it is. You know, I don't.
Cerebral, very cerebral.
But I like the contrast. You know what I mean? I know, like when I did my book, I just wanted it on the shelf. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted it on the shelf. I want, when you're looking through this stuff. You know, I like the variety. I like that you have the different types of things, and you know, and I want to be in there too, you know. And but I don't know, man. I can appreciate a lot of stuff. I can appreciate a lot of things, man. And you know, but that's why, you know, it's funny. Like when hip hop went through its, like when hip hop music went through like I can remember like in like 96 to late 90s, where hip hop started to kind of go through a change. Like I remember like when I was younger, like it would be like, you know, you had like Sound of the Police and KRS-One, Sound of the Police. You had Old Dirty Bastard, Brooklyn Zoo. And you had, I just remember everything on the radio was sounded all right, you know. And then it kind of went through a change of like where everything was kind of hip hoppy, and I liked everything. And then in around like 96, 97, it was like people making kind of these more kind of serious type, a different kind of a song. Like, you know, the Fugees started to sound a little different. They started to make, I don't know really what to call it. I don't want to say serious songs, but just, it wasn't just all hip hop fun.
Yeah.
It was like
more thought-provoking music.
Yeah, more kind of thought-provoking, kind of artsy, almost avant-garde type music. And like Nas sounded different from his Illmatic, and he started to go to It Was Written and making like If I Ruled the World. Then by like the late 90s, hip hop went through this thing where, to me, I don't want to insult anybody or just, but to me, it started to get a bit silly, where everybody started to like caricatures and like, and just like, they just were personalities and stuff like that. And like, you know, and I remember not liking that, you know, and it made me more into, but it created a contrast to make me more into people like, to make me notice people like MF Doom, make me notice De La Soul, to make me notice certain obscure underground stuff that I probably wouldn't have noticed, before, had it not had that contrast. I was like seeking it out, and I think, and it's the same way in any kind of creative field where you have that, and then it creates this kind of, contrast. So I don't know. I'm just saying that to say everything has its place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I was just watching an old Cynthia Rothrock and Yun Bu film, like like a Hong Kong action film. It's one of my films from back in the day. So I hear you, and I'll just as much sit there and watch a 3-hour Jodorowsky film or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and I'll go to the cinema for the latest blockbuster as well. But different moods, different times, different feelings.
I wanted to add something. Now, sorry, just a quick one.
I don't know. Build.
Also, like with the De La Soul album cover, 3 Feet High and Rising, I'm a Juice, Rob. I love De La Soul. You know that. I'm the biggest native tongue fan. Thank you.
Father.
Thank you, God. Thank you. So, like, I'm a big De La Soul fan. I kind of like connected with De La Soul because they aesthetically, I mean, outside of me feeling like I was always like slightly, I was always kind of like different or the avant-garde one. I lived in Barbados here. It's like, you like soca music and reggae, or you don't like anything, or you're not normal. You know what I mean? And I was really into, from as far back as I can remember, before say the left field became a thing that the hipsters did. I remember always having a taste of something that was a bit like that was more what's the term?
Organic?
More organic, more and more like when you saw people like it wasn't just a trend. It wasn't just a bunch of people just falling in line. Oh yeah, like we all must play basketball. We all can rhyme. It was like, when I saw like I was really into stuff like I mean when as a kid I watched Fantastic Planet, that French sci-fi. And I remember that did something to my brain. That put extra creases in my brain. I remember watching it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat for like a couple of days after. I was like, this is weird. Oh man, I don't want to eat rice because it reminds me of the Blue Alien. And I remember like, and then when I saw like, De La Soul, they kind of had that kind of voice as well, where it's like, we are who we are. We're individuals. You're gonna have different tastes. It's not, you know what I mean? And seeing like De La Soul kind of reminded me when I looked at them, they looked like aesthetically they looked like the kids over here that turn Rasta. They looked like Rootsmen. They actually looked like, I wear Clarks, I wear travel frocks and, a khaki shirt, just like my Rasta daddy or whatever, the Rasta man down the road. And I remember when I saw it, and then looking at their packaging with the, the zine cover, with them lying down in the cover and the yellow, and them lying down on the floor. And then you open it, and it was that mad comic book done by Michael Ullman.
Comic, yeah.
And it was like, oh my God.
Who was it who did that comic again? I'm sure you know.
Michael Ullman. Michael Ullman. Or Human.
Yeah, I really love that art, man.
Yeah, I loved it as well. I thought it was really bugged out. The fact that none of them looked the same from panel to panel. And, and it was just some really, really bugged out kind of story. It was like, okay, they're going to Mars. They meet this duck, which is Dante Ross. And then, they get this record deal, and then they get this record, they're told to do something, and they get the record deal, and then they meet the Jungle Brothers, like things with the mask on. And I remember when I was looking at it, I remember thinking, this is bugged out. I don't really get it, but I like it. It doesn't, maybe this might just be about nothing, but I get it.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And that's the other thing as well, you know, sometimes realizing that some things just are, you know, they don't, it's not always super deep and triple entendre, metaphorical, symbolic. Some things just are what they are, and we make of it as the viewer, we make of it what we want to. I mean, the way that certain people, I mean, there's certain people that rhyme. I mean, Doom is a great example. You don't always know. Ghostface. Ghostface. Some
Oh
of that
yeah,
is just
Ghostface.
stream of consciousness, just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Imagery, just onions, yeah, model, life model, pen, drawing, wood floor, wood panel, wood grain. Like, what? Oh, he's in a shop with the wood grain floor. I think, yeah, he's having onions.
Yeah.
It just is. Do you like it? Do you like his voice? Do you like the beat? Some things just are like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always important to remember that as a creator, you know, that not to be like what Sandra said as you've come onto screen there, to be comfortable in yourself. Like, it just is. I don't like to almost not care if people get it, because we're in an era now that is very much about, you know, it's about numbers, it's about figures, it's about responses, it's about likes, clicks, retweets, and whatnot. And sometimes art can suffer because of that. Sometimes it can also flourish, but it can often suffer. You know, people won't. If you're not as big as so and so, they might not go to your show. They might not buy that book. There is a reason. I mean, if you remember, the same era that Rob was talking about, the Image comics and stuff, when that really took off. For a hot minute, it was bubbling. It was all independent creators.
That was
It was a real
probably
thing.
the most. That's probably the most a comic artist got paid in the history of comics. Maybe, I mean, they were like big deals.
Yeah, I mean,
they were
they were rock
stars.
Eric Larson and all them. Yeah, they were all they're making their demands and then separating and making their own companies and Top Cow and all these different
Valiant.
things. Yeah, come out of that. So, but the thing to remember is when they went for figures, it all became about and then the big two copied as well, and then Dark Horse come in. It all became 3D holographic sticker covers with
variant covers,
multiple editions. It become about the numbers, and the art began to suffer. And actually,
I didn't like that time
did because of that. The actual art form, the base carrier suffered in the midst of all of these multiple covers, glossy this, shiny that, reflective, holographic. The actual stories.
Man, I fell for that stuff, man. I used to like the holograms, and the silver cover. I'm like, wow.
Kind of cool though, still.
It was cool. I've got some of them.
I mean, it was BS, you know. But like, but yeah, I just remember being younger and saying like, wow,
wow, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It was, but no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just had a flashback.
You had a flashback.
I just remember getting those comics like, oh, it got the hologram on
Like.
it.
So we've talked about some of the influences and some of the things that you guys are getting up to. Where do you see yourselves now? Where is Kettorah going to go to next? Where is Aplus Comics? I know that you, Robbie, you were just telling me about Adult Swim. That's quite a win right there for anyone who knows the importance of Adult Swim for creators and hip hop people. That again, that combination of things that they've brought to the fore with, especially with animation.
Very cool.
To Kettorah and Lee, whatever you're getting up to. What does the future hold for you guys?
Gosh, Lee, you want to go first?
Okay, I'll try. I'm just trying to get my stuff published. I think I've got a story to tell. We all have a story to tell. You know, my friend Kobe used to tell me, I mean, there's a saying, and he used to always tell me, everybody's got at least one book in them.
That's right.
True.
This is mine. I'm working on it. Give me time. It will be. I mean, I'm gonna do something. It might not be everybody's cup of tea. So for those that don't like it, I mean, there's always manga. There's loads of stuff out there. You know, I won't feel bad if you don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna try and put myself. I just want to get published. I want to tell my story. I found my voice. You know, and I'm kind of finding my range now, as far as the artwork. So, and the storytelling, and not only the visual storytelling, but the boring parts. I'm doing all the fun parts so far. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to get my head around the boring parts. Somehow that I meet somewhere with the creative stuff, and then hopefully that creates commerce. That's not my sole drive, though. Commerce is not my sole drive. I just want to tell my story, and I think I have a story to tell. I think, you know, that's just it.
Sure.
You know,
brilliant. Rob?
I don't know, man. I don't know the future. Like I don't know, man. I'm just drawn, man. You know.
Yeah. But tell us about tell us because you had mentioned it before, but I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I'm doing this thing with Adult Swim. Adult Swim has a comic, a website for comic artists. You know, a lot of underground comic artists on there, and it's comic strips. You know, it's showing comic strips, and you know, they reached out to me, like my stuff, and you know, it's like, yo, you know, would you like to do this? And you know, I actually said no. I actually told him no at first, but then I don't know. I rethought it. I was like, yeah, this would probably be good, you know. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just want to be honest, man. I just want to keep making comics. And another reason why I kind of like doing Adult Swim, it builds up the followers of people, exposes the work, get more people interested in it. I kind of like that. I get so happy being an underground artist. I get scared that I'm, you know, and I'm very comfortable here because I get to, I have more freedom and get to do what I want. I feel like when you get to a certain level, you have to be very careful about certain things you put out, you know. And I don't think, like, I'm not saying like people who are commercial or corny or anything like that, or they're sellouts. I don't look at it in that way. I just think you have a different type of responsibility on a larger platform. Yeah. Like I would be a different kind of artist if I was a bigger artist. I would, because I would be a bit more sensitive about you know how people, you know, just certain I wouldn't be able to say certain things or do certain things. I would be more responsible. But in the underground, man, I can do what I want and be who I want. And I just love it. You know, I love the freedom. I just get to express my philosophy in the way I want. But yeah, as far as like the future, I just want to keep doing what I do. And I don't really have a real plan. I just want to keep doing what I do and stay true to my my readers and people who follow me and follow my work. I just want to stay true to them and just give them what I've always been giving them.
Yeah, man. That's a plan. That's a plan right there.
That's cool.
Sandra?
Wow. Currently, I just finished an avant-garde storytelling series of the book, just to basically give people with dyslexia and other, you know, hearing impediments an opportunity to see the book. Yep. Yeah.
I'm dyslexic, so I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Big up. I'd love to talk to you more then as well. So, yes, so I've just finished the series. It's on YouTube. I'm doing a bit of a plugger. Can I do? Sorry.
Go right ahead.
YouTube. It's YouTube Kettorah series. It's called. It's a 7-part series which I've just finished, and kindly Jusaline was one of the narrators, one of the storytellers in it. Positive feedback. Where I'm going next is finishing part 2 of the book. I've just started to edit that. And then, like I was saying to you earlier, I've been campaigning from the beginning of the lockdown. I started campaigning for dyslexia, just talking and starting to change the narrative within the communities, because there was not enough people getting statements in, especially in the young Black community. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be moving forward with. I use the book as a vehicle to hold the conversation about young writers having dyslexia, being a fantasy artist, I happen to be Black, and you know, there's nothing that you can stop yourself. That, you know, you're able to do anything. So that's the next step. There's other ventures that I'm stepping into, but as they unfold, then I'll be able to talk about them more. But and also one of the other things, like we're saying with comics, Kettorah was first a comic idea. When I did the freestyle, I started to sketch it and work it as a comic. But then I sat down with it for many years. And then, you know, I started to write 6 years ago with the series. But I'm looking at doing a very small concept comic for younger people. And it's more aimed for dyslexic students as well. So I'm looking at a different version of Kettorah just to get their mind going and to stimulate themselves in the creative genres. So that's a little bit of what I'm up to going forward. Future, gosh, the future, what I'd like to see for everyone is that we have some solid platforms to express and sell our creativity.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see, because it's just hearing about yourselves. And thank you, Juice, for inviting me on this talk, to meet Robert and yourself as well. The fact that I hear the passion and the energy and the work that's been put in over the years in your creative genres, and there's nothing more rewarding than having a solid platform continuing so that it can grow and your work can be expressed and expand in different genres, making other people see your work. And, you know, like you were saying, it doesn't matter if you're producing a piece of material and people like it or don't. You just do it because that's art. You don't tell the sun to just stop because I don't want no more sunshine. It is what it is. So, you know, it's just to create and be free with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, guys. I just want to thank you all again. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Rob. And thank you, Lee, for being part of this. I know we had a little bit of mishap at the beginning, trying to set up here, you know, but as you say, they can't stop us, you know what I mean? And we're gonna continue, check out for each other's works as well, and other people's works. And the works mentioned as well, to anyone that eventually gets to see or hear this. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that we've covered over here. And one thing I wanna say before we go, or if there's anything else that anyone wants to put forth.
I just wanted to find out about your tags for you know, for Instagram and stuff, so I can carry on following you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll give you my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm just saying Aplus Comix with an X. Aplus Comix spelled out.
Let me write that down.
Yeah.
A plus.
Yeah. APLUS. Am I spelling it right? APLUS COMIX.
Duh.
X. Okay.
Yeah, with an X. Aplus Comix.
Cool.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Brilliant. Well, I'll come in as Kettorah, so you'll see me when I'll come and add you.
Are you on Instagram?
Yeah.
And it's Kettorah?
It's Kettorah. It's KET_TORAH.
Okay. On Instagram.
Underscore in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm Theodore Richards.
You have to spell that in, brother.
Sorry. Pardon me. THE. ODORE. Richards.
Okay.
And that's my middle name and my mother's maiden name.
Cool. Brilliant.
Right. Brilliant, guys. One last thing I want to add, in the tradition of the great, either the team up or the verses, and also in the tradition of, I don't know if you guys remember, Last Emperor had a song called Secret Wars, based off of.
Oh yeah.
And he put current hip hop icons against mostly Marvel superheroes and villains, and he rapped about who would win, you know, KRS versus who does he have? KRS versus Professor X.
Magneto, Professor X. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, right.
Professor X.
And for you guys right now, I'd love to hear who would either be, through hip hop and comics, whatever comics, underground, overground, whatever hip hop, new, old, under mainstream, who would be your perfect team up and who would be your perfect verses? So like, okay,
I just want to understand perfect team up and perfect verses.
Yeah,
perfect. Like as far as a rapper versus a Marvel character, a superhero.
It doesn't have to be it's just a comic. Like for off the head now, I'm gonna say Judge Dredd versus Big Pun.
Okay.
Just to see what that would work as a comic or a film. Just off the head, I'm just throwing that out there. But like, who would be your perfect one? You know, like, or a team up? Because team ups are always cool as well. Because
I wouldn't even know I don't know if you class her as hip hop, but I like her. She's hip hop to me because of her whole movement. I would put her versus Storm.
Her who?
Her, the artist, her.
Oh, her, yeah, it's kind of R&B hip hop.
Yeah. She's got that flavor. She's still hip hop to me. She's just coming from a different style, you know. Versus Storm, I'd probably say.
Right.
Yeah, that background of knowledge. And a team. I can't think of a team right now.
All right.
Big Joe Crash, which was KRS-One.
Oh yeah.
Big Joe Crash and fucking oops, sorry kids. And what's his face? You know, the black guy. Now the struggling. Luke Cage. As a team up. And a super team. And there's a super team, it has to be a combination of hip hoppers and MC and hip hoppers and cartoon characters. It would be
can be comics, anime, you know, manga, anything.
I have to get back to you on that one.
All right.
Big Joe Crash and Luke Cage.
Yeah, X-Men and Wu-Tang Clan as a team up and a fight. I like to see
that would be dope. Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah.
Rob, you just smashed it. Yeah. You just I'm having crazy visions.
And fight and make up later and team up against.
I
like to see both.
I'm a rock man this summer. Yeah. All right then, guys. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get back at you individually. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Bless.
Yeah.
Stay
Have
up.
a blessed day, everybody.
Yes.
You as well. Everybody, peace and love.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Bye. Thank you, Juice.
No worries.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, whole panel.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Sandra.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.